Hello, everybody, and welcome to the Get Geek podcast, where we celebrate geek, nerd, and pop culture. Each week, we deliver the best analysis for fans, by fans, on anything related to movies, TV, video games, comics, anime, and manga. We talk geek. And now, here's the Get Geek podcast.
Hello, everyone. Welcome to the Get Geek podcast. How y'all doing today? I am joined, as always, by the Get Geek crew. Today we have with us Walt, Eli, and whatever AJ is calling himself on the podcast today. Say hello, everyone, and AJ, introduce yourself.
Goodbye.
Goodbye.
I am the Carlos Conspectus.
God, what the hell is that?
Please, an explanation is needed.
That is a school of sorcery in Elden Ring.
That's
Yeah, I don't know
that's a
either.
deep cut.
I don't
'Cause
know.
I don't even know that one.
Yeah.
Okay.
They're based on the stone helmets.
Conspectus.
Spectus.
Conspectus. All right.
Hello. I'm here today. Hello.
You are present.
I am present today.
You are
Seems
present
like me,
today.
Seems like me and Eli haven't been here in like forever.
Yeah.
So
It has been a while.
Y'all have been busy with some things. I haven't been around in a while because I've been busy with a couple of things
yeah, there's a lot of stuff going on with us,
recently.
so, you know.
It's been a while since I've been able to return to the podcast to be geeky with y'all, to get geeky with y'all. And so that's what we're going to do today. We're going to get geeky. We're going to geek out. And we're going to talk about a couple of things. And we have a main topic in mind, and we'll get to that as well. But first, I'm a little rusty. It's been a while. The best way to support one of your favorite podcast crews is to like, rate, share, and subscribe to the podcast. You can find us on all your favorite social media platforms: Facebook, Instagram, the TikToks of the world, the Twitters, Elon Musk land, all your favorite places to social media. And you can definitely slide up into our DMs and give us some feedback. Let us know what you think of the episodes. Let us know if you like them. If you don't like them, you give us some ideas for episodes. We are always listening. And of course, please check us out on all your favorite podcast platforms and give us a rating on Apple Podcasts if you could. That's the best way. The 100% best way to support all your favorite podcasts. What's been going on with y'all? What have y'all been like checking out, geeking out about? How's life? What's the deal?
We've been doing stuff. I mean, we've been watching like mostly a bunch of shows. We haven't gotten on to Stranger Things just yet.
Yeah.
We're currently watching like, what is it? We have Vikings.
We're doing Vikings. We just finished up the first part of the last season of Better Call Saul.
Okay.
We
haven't
started
seen that
Miss
yet.
Marvel.
Yeah.
We've
I
been
did as
watching
well.
Obi-Wan.
Yeah.
What else?
I have seen the first episode of Stranger
Vikings.
Things.
I said Vikings.
Oh, you
Yeah,
did?
did
Oh.
Vikings.
I do feel like
We haven't started Stranger Things, and
Yeah.
I feel like we're being neglectful in our duties as geeks.
Well, I mean,
Not watching Stranger Things.
if you've been busy, and we all have, Stranger Things is a commitment because I don't know if you are aware and if the fans are aware, but the episodes this season are movie length, essentially. The first episode was, with credits included, so that's about almost 10 minutes with these shows. It was an hour and 24 minutes of runtime.
Wow.
That's the first
Okay.
episode.
It was definitely a commitment.
I think it's 6 episodes is going to be the first part of the final season, and then 2 episodes that are about 2 hours plus long will form the last part of this season.
But they broke it up in volumes, right?
Yeah,
I think.
yeah, like part A or part B. Same thing they're probably going to do with Better Call Saul, I would imagine. Same thing they did with Breaking Bad. It's kind of a thing since The Sopranos. I think, right? Sopranos is one of the first shows to do that in cable. Yeah. So what have you been enjoying among those things recently? It's just a bevy of shows. What's standing out to y'all?
Honestly, Obi-Wan so far because Obi-Wan is. I mean, we've gotten the furthest in that, and I mean, Obi-Wan's been doing pretty good. Um,
Hmm.
and it's kind of surprised me with how they've been making it like better than previous Star Wars shows. I like Vikings a lot. We're up to like the fourth season.
No, we're up to the sixth season,
Oh, the
the
sixth
final
season.
season.
So the final season, and it's really gotten interesting.
Hmm.
I would definitely suggest that you watch it if you haven't, because it's just crazy with what they're doing and how like it's just like different sagas on top of each other, and it's pretty cool. So yeah,
Hmm.
also been doing like some Elden Ring and some other stuff
Yeah.
just today and yesterday. So it's been pretty good. I beat like four bosses. It was okay.
So you've been grinding a little bit recently.
Yeah, a little bit. A little
Yes,
bit.
Elden Ring is definitely a grind.
Yeah, that's for sure. So yeah, that's basically just what I've been doing. And
I mean, y'all have been grinding a heck of a lot on Elden Ring, also for cross gen as well, right? With
yeah,
your
Yeah.
with your streaming and uh, what was your last name there, Carlos? With your
The Carlos Conspectus.
with your conspecting in Elden Ring.
Yeah.
Tell me a little bit about y'all's grinding in Elden Ring for cross gen, and y'all are planning to do one later. I think you had mentioned, but I'm not
Yeah.
sure if that's the
So
case.
this is gonna be a shameless plug, but I'm not above shameless
I
plugs.
love them. I love shameless plugs.
The Cross Gen podcast is a podcast that both me, AJ, and Eli work on outside of Get Geek. And recently, we've turned on video, so we have YouTube content. All of our podcast episodes are now watchable, right?
Hmm.
So we have like a total of, I believe, 5 episodes of the CrossGen podcast that is on YouTube, not audio, but video also. And we've also created another channel called CrossGen Play. And that one has a total of 23 videos so far. And basically, what we're doing is we're basically Twitch streaming and uploading it to YouTube with some, commentary and comment and stuff like that. And right now, the main focus has been Elden Ring. All three of us have kind of been doing a playthrough on the YouTube channel. So whenever we play, we stream, and it's actually pretty good. We do have some other stuff on there. I did a very quick review of Diablo Immortal,
Hmm.
the iOS game, and I'm gonna do a follow up to that because apparently I only did about an hour's worth of gameplay,
Hmm.
and there is no microtransactions for that first hour. But as I have read and continue to read on Diablo, it gets much worse much later on to the point where it's like you need $110,000 if you want to complete the game via microtransactions.
No, I'm good.
Yeah,
That's why I'm not a big fan of mobile gaming, to be honest, or at least like high
right.
concept mobile gaming. Give me like a simple, Clash of Clans or something like that, where there are microtransactions and play to win definitely works,
Yeah,
but I don't have to do that, and I kind of
and,
don't care. It's not a
and
story driven game, kind of where you have to pay to beat it.
yeah, the crazy thing is that I did that Diablo Immortal playthrough as
Mm.
soon as it came out. So, you know, on the video you hear me saying, "Oh, this is pretty good. Oh, there's no microtransactions." Little did I know that the further you get, the worse it becomes.
Yeah.
So we have that video up. We also have a video of Trek to Yumi playthrough first hour. And we have some other stuff. I think we also did Lego Star Wars also.
yeah, we did.
You know, so
We're
there's a couple of things that you guys can check out there if you wanted to.
we're slowly building our streaming stuff.
That's kind of like you can preview if y'all are expecting a geek out episode on Get Geek, you can kind of go to CrossGen and be like, oh, that's what they've been geeking out about, because they have like the video up from playing Elden Ring solely, not solely. I mean, the majority of the videos are Elden Ring, and that's got to be a remarkable game. I've played it, but I just haven't had any time really to game other than a little bit of Oculus time. Uh,
Mm.
and in order to draw Walt out to make time for a game, it's got to be a pretty special one. We talked about it before, but
Yeah, So Elden Ring is actually very, very good. I'm actually dying for you, both you and Gabe, to try.
Yeah, you guys
I
definitely
think I
should.
think you guys would enjoy it, and it being a Souls game, a lot of people are kind of like intimidated by that because of the fact that the Souls games are very notorious for being super, super hard.
mhm.
But believe it or not, I believe that Elden Ring is probably the most player friendly of the Souls games. It's very easy to get in, and the fact that it's open world also helps out a lot because if you can't beat a boss,
Go
just
somewhere
skip him
else.
for a while.
Yeah,
Go for a while, level up, come back, and then kick his ass.
yeah,
So
makes
it
sense.
makes it a lot easier
It's more
to
accessible than the other ones, I guess, in that
exactly
way.
exactly. So, but yeah, that's what we've been primarily geeking out of on. AJ, what have you been doing? And I kind of think I know
So,
the
do you
answer
want a
also.
little more Elden Ring with your Elden Ring?
A little Elden Ring with a side of Elden Ring.
It's
I
become an
do.
Yes.
obsession in the Melgar household.
I do because your unique ability to describe your actions and gameplay is one of the best parts of, well, not just this podcast, but of CrossGen and of all of that and the video streaming that you're doing. So yes, I would like more Elden Ring with my Elden Ring,
I've
conspicuous or
been
whatever your name is.
I've been deep diving into the lore also.
Yeah.
I've been reading a lot of Twitter threads, namely this one by Elden Lore Hunter Hazel,
Hmm.
very artfully constructed thread. So I'll give the shout out there.
And can I just interject really, really quickly? And for people who don't know, the story is composed by George R. Martin. And if that name sounds familiar, he's the guy that has written the Game of Thrones books series. So there you go.
Yeah.
Yeah. And so couple of things. You know the falling star beasts?
Yeah.
Did you know that those are speculated to be baby Astels?
What the?
So
Yo, that makes
for the
more sense now.
for the people who don't know, you really, really need to explain what that is.
Yeah.
Okay. So falling star beasts are basically these well, not monsters. They're these creatures that come from outer space in the form of meteorites. And so they have like these two huge pincers, like ant pincers. They have like a white head, some fur on them, and they have a mostly black obsidian like body, and they look like bulls. But it's speculated they're related to a boss that's very, very much more so annoying. So think of that little thing, but it grows up into a huge bug
Yeah.
that
Yeah.
has like a very disturbing skull human like face. Same pincers, a huge purple eye in the middle of that really weird ass head. And like the insectoid body is like a huge plethora of stars and planets. See, that's Astel right there.
Yeah, you had me until the last detail, kind of the stars and planets that he's sort of surrounded by.
No,
That
that's
looks
part
wild.
of him.
Yeah.
That's his body.
Yeah.
Is he that big or is it just like
Oh
kind of
yeah,
a
he's big.
Yeah, he's huge.
wow. Okay.
And
That's
the babies are apparently falling star beasts.
that's just the to scale him. It's like, yeah, he's like a galaxy practically or like a solar system.
Yeah.
Ooh, he's cute. That is freaky.
I will say this:
Oh yeah.
the boss design in Elden Ring is superior. I think the only one that probably comes close to it is oh, what was that game for PlayStation where it was just solely boss fights?
Shadow of the Colossus.
Yes.
Yeah. Yeah, the games, the art design, like all of that is pretty fantastic. Even from like booting up the game and seeing like a gigantic like tree of light in the sky, and just
Mhm.
staring at that in the background, it just looms and it looks so cool, and everything in terms of the art design in this game looks so cool.
Yeah, it is.
Hmm.
And the good thing is that everything you can see, you can get to, which is pretty impressive
For the
for
most part,
you
yeah.
know.
I'm assuming including even that tree of light, it's probably prominent, maybe not, I don't know, but
Yeah, it actually
Yeah.
is.
yeah,
Maybe.
It's very very pivotal to the storyline.
right. So what else, AJ or
Yes.
Carlos?
So like even this one's gonna really rack your brains.
Yeah.
The kindred of rot are related to the Nox.
What's the Nox again?
Okay. So you know Noxella, the Eternal City?
It's really racking his brain.
Do you know those maidens that prowl around it?
Yeah.
It's speculated that they're related to the kindred of rot.
Which are the clean rot knights?
No, the pests.
Yeah.
What? I mean, I know
Yeah.
that. Wait, aren't they at?
They look like
Noxella?
weird alien creatures almost.
No, they're not.
With
But
spiders.
remember,
They have-
you know the Lake of Rot?
Yeah.
That place features architecture that is practically one for the Nox. And they're also like, because Noxtella is like this whole huge. Okay, so let me explain just something really quick. Imagine there was a city of people that didn't like God, which in this case was the greater will.
Okay.
And the greater will has these envoys called the Two Fingers, who are basically his agents in the world. Now imagine these people say, you know what? We don't like you so much. Let's make a weapon that can kill your envoys, and you're totally going to be okay with it. No, the greater will was not okay with it.
Mhm.
So you know what he did? He goes, your cities, bye-bye. We're going to sink them all the way underground so that way you and your precious knight can be as separate from each other as possible. Because the Nox worship the night sky. So like just
Jose,
some
let me put it to you this
whacked
way.
out crazy cool stuff.
Everything will become apparent once you start playing the game.
Yeah, no, I mean the lore in the game. I mean, it seems like one of the things that's working for this game also. And AJ, as a big fan of this series, you can tell me if I'm wrong or not. The lore is on par, maybe with like a Skyrim. It seems all the
I'd
lore.
say even greater than.
Yeah, right.
At
So
least for me.
yeah,
Because the good thing about Elden Ring lore is that, well, maybe it can be frustrating to some, but it's not particularly clear in some points.
Right.
So a lot of what you're doing is piecing puzzle pieces together.
Mhm.
How you put them together is all on you. But everything I just described can very easily be wrong. It's a theory.
Yeah, Elden Ring is a weird game in that there is a story, but the story is not front and center.
Mhm.
There is a lot of stuff that you have, and this is, I think, a thing that's specific to Souls games.
Yep.
The story is almost secondary to the gameplay, but the story is still fascinating. The thing about it is that a lot of the story is found within the description of the things that you loot. So, for example, if you get a specific sword, you can open up the inventory, and there is a thing where it says description, and the lore is written there.
Of the sword.
So, right, but that the lore is also part of the game. So it's not just you have maybe about 20% cutscenes, which explains the story.
Mhm.
The rest 80% is found in these descriptions, and it's just like AJ said, you kind of have to piece it together to get the full, vision of what the story is.
Yeah, that's kind of like The Last of Us, or what is the other game that I was thinking of that you put a lot of lore together in the background. Oh darn, it just slipped out of my head. But there's a very similar game where a lot of the side quests and things like that and things that you read inform the story. That's probably a consequence also of it being not just a Souls game, but George R. R. Martin is like famously good at creating lore and landscapes and worlds and characters. No matter what you think about Game of Thrones, the show in the end, all that world building was the result of George R. R. Martin's very good writing. I would
Yeah.
mostly say.
Yep. And I think with Game of Thrones suffered, especially at the end, of catching up too quickly to the books, to the point where they didn't have a proper ending to go to because he hadn't finished the books yet. So because everything was fine up until they caught up, and then everything went downhill after that. So
A little bit.
Yeah. So, but that's that. So AJ.
Yeah, like, and just going back to the point, like, you would not know anything about the, let me see, 7 schools of sorceries had you not studied the helmets you get from killing those guys.
Another example. Actually, I remember the game that I was thinking of. Walt, you'll definitely agree with me. Mass Effect. Mass Effect with the lore,
Oh
everything that
yes,
you
definitely.
find, and every species that you discover, you get the encyclopedia
Specifically
entries.
that first game.
Yeah, specifically the first one just overwhelms you with information. Like, but I love that, and I kind of like the narration that they had for some of the articles in the Wikipedia for Mass Effect.
Mm-hmm.
So yeah, AJ, what other lore do you want to throw out there before we move on
I
to?
think that'll be it for now. I'll close it out with I'm on my third playthrough of the game.
AJ is far in front of us.
Yeah.
We're still grinding to the end of the first game. He's
And
already done it 3 times.
What level
what's
are you?
interesting, well, before I divulge that information, allow me to just say that even though I'm on my third playthrough, I'm still discovering brand new things that I had never seen or done before.
I'm certain.
See, and this is where we differ because I'm taking the time to try and 100% it on my first playthrough. AJ has kind of been playing it the way most people will play, right? Which is, you're doing the stuff, but you're going for the main bosses. Eli, on the other hand, because he's probably the most accomplished Elden Ring player of all of us, right? He's kind of like skipping everything just to get to main bosses, right?
Sort of. Yeah.
So it's funny because AJ
He skipped a main boss to begin with.
So AJ may have the highest level, and I think you're in the 200s, right?
242 or 3?
Yeah, I'm about 175. Eli is what? 131, but he's like killing bosses with like no armor, or at
So
least
you're-
trying to.
Okay, well
He's
let me
trying to.
paint you a picture really quick.
Ooh.
So I'm the most quote unquote advanced of all of us, but it took me about a week to kill Melania.
Yeah, it took me 2 episodes.
It took him about a day, 2 days, or no,
Mhm.
the equivalent of a day. Eli, it took less than a day to kill Melania, the hardest
Yeah,
boss
like-
in the game.
So you're
I
like
did
kind of let me solo her a little bit.
Yeah, I did the Millennia
Uh-oh.
strictly on stream, and the first episode that I did it was the final 40 minutes of
Yeah.
me just mercilessly dying to her, and then the next episode took me about 20 minutes, so about an hour's worth.
That's basically the
fighting.
same thing of me. For me.
No, you did in like 30 minutes, 30, 40 minutes.
That was like an hour.
No, it
so then-
wasn't.
Yeah,
Yeah.
it
No,
was
it wasn't.
shorter than that.
It was shorter
So-
than
You're not
that.
giving yourself enough credit.
You actually did it faster than
And
any of
she's
us.
she's
Without armor
probably
too,
one of-
right?
She's
No,
probably
he
one of-
actually
yeah,
ended up needing to use the
he went
armor in
back
the
and
end,
forth.
but it's
Yeah.
okay. But he really needed it though.
And
That's
to
not
be
a
fair,
boss you can
I
take
kinda-
lightly.
He went from full armor to fully naked to back to full armor and stuff. So
To
you
be
know,
fair, I kind of knew what I was walking into.
You had like a
You
different
kind of knew. Oh
wardrobe,
my god! No!
yeah,
But what I
he
will
did.
different
say
wardrobe in
is
the middle of the fight.
fire giant- the fire
Oh,
giant
that's
fight,
right.
yo,
the fire giant fight. But I
Did
did
not
that
make? I
also.
made a promise that I would beat the fire giant in 10 minutes. I did it in like 7 or 8.
Less than that. You did it under 10 minutes.
Yeah. Okay.
It didn't take me that short, but I did do it in one playthrough. The fire giant.
Fire giant is easy.
Millennia is probably one of the harder bosses in the game.
Probably
You know?
the hardest
Yeah,
boss in the
and
game.
and the crazy thing is she's an optional boss. You
The
really don't
Legends
have to fight
boss.
her, you know. She and it's funny because some of those optional bosses are actually harder than the main bosses in some senses.
It's
Like
like
Placidusax, the dragon.
like Final
Oh,
Fantasy.
yeah.
Final Fantasy likes to do that.
Placidusax.
Final Fantasy will have the weapon bosses in the games. They like to do
Yeah.
that as well. So they do
All
something
right,
similar.
so that's our obsession with Elden Ring.
Basically.
Yeah. As far as me, I've been geeking out on a couple of things, and maybe one will be a part of the larger conversation. But I've been Oculus questing or Meta questing. I'm sorry, it's no longer
Yes.
Oculus; it's Meta.
Welcome,
Yeah.
welcome to the Oculus community.
I've accomplished a lot of things over the last couple of weeks, including getting this Meta Quest and this little thing, getting married too. There was that other thing that I did a couple of weeks ago also. But I got a Meta Quest, which is more important to the podcast, I think. And I've been playing Vader Immortal. I beat the first episode, and it's really crazy. I only played the dojos before, but I really like the story mode because of how immersive it is, and like flipping switches and doing like weird stuff that wouldn't seem like it would be that fun, but in VR, it's just really, really cool to have that level of interactivity. I got a new like comfort headset strap for it though. Like I can't take the one that it came with. I got the Kiwi Accessories headset. Plug. What's up?
Yeah, you should also try Tales of Galaxy's Edge.
Yeah, I heard.
Which is very good also.
I heard.
If you like the stuff that you're doing in Vader Immortal, the only thing is that you're not playing as a Jedi, but it's still a very, very good game also.
I'm fine with that. There's other games that have really good combat as well that can replace the itch that Vader Immortal has. I have all 3 episodes. I have to play the 2, and it's really fun so far. But I've heard of that game. I played a little bit of Walking Dead, Saints and Sinners, and that's really great. If y'all haven't tried it, the interactivity in that one is really cool too, and it's kind of fun to like walk up to a zombie, grab it by the head, stab it, and then hold on with one hand to pull the knife out. Like there's some great interactivity in that game. This other game I played called Swarm. That's basically Spider-Man with guns. You're like in a Galaga or asteroids level. There's just like robots, like the little robots, like those games just come out and like chase you down and shoot at you. And there's platforms that you use your 2 guns to grapple onto, and you can like pull yourself up. You can swing one hand at a time, and while you're doing all that, you just have to shoot all the Galaga aliens or whatever else with your guns and other different weapons. So I've been playing that and like a decent amount, but as y'all are probably aware, it's a little bit more uncomfortable to do VR for long stretches. Your eyes get super dry, like the battery dies after 2 hours anyway. But like that's basically gaming wise what I've been doing recently. I brought my Xbox Series X down to where I am now. I'm actually in Atlanta. I'm not in the city at the moment, in New York City, but I haven't even opened the box. I've just been hitting up the Meta Quest 2 for gaming sessions, playing mini golf too. Mini golf is fun. The golf games are fun. All the sports-based games are pretty cool as well. So,
have you gone into the experimental features?
I have not messed with stuff like hand tracking as much yet. I have a little bit, but there's this game that
hand tracking is really good.
I heard there was an update like a few months ago that made it even better recently. Hand tracking 2.0. There's a game, Waltz of the Wizard, that I want to get, that I really want to mess with because I heard it's like one of the best games in terms of hand tracking. It's what it sounds like. It's a game where you're a wizard and you actually have to do like Doctor Strange moves and stuff like that, and like shape your hands and like move them in certain ways to do different spells. So it's like an unlicensed Doctor Strange game or something like that. I want to try that because it uses all hand tracking. You don't at all use controllers for that game. So I want to try that as well. But I've been playing a ton of Meta Quest 2, and I can't wait to try some more games and see some of the new stuff. There's apparently a lot of new updates and technology coming out in the next few months before I guess they release the next Oculus or MetaQuest 3 next year or something, I think.
Yeah.
But as far as entry level, y'all have definitely recommended it, I'm sure. But as far as entry level VR that's still got like some legs to it and some good experiences, like Resident Evil 4 is another example. I haven't gotten that yet, but these are some of the games that are really, really great and AAA experiences. Um,
I'm
Short
surprised
of
you haven't done Medal of Honor yet, because
no
that is totally up your wheelhouse.
Medal of Honor, they have that.
Medal of Honor is out, yes, and it's the full game. It's not a it's a AAA game. So
Well, as far as I've as shooters, I've been doing stuff like Pavlov Shack. It's free, by the way, for anybody that's looking for a fun shooter experience. It's kind of like Counter Strike or uh, games like that, like a little more casual. But obviously, VR makes it a little more hardcore with the realism that you get.
mhm.
But I mean, yeah, that's what I've been messing with a heck of a lot, and I can't wait to try more experiences. Again, short of until I get a PC, which at that point I'll definitely get a link cable. Short of Half Life Alex, I'm having a blast with it and enjoying the immersive experiences of some of the AAA games that have come out just in the last few months, apparently. So if y'all haven't picked it up in a while, it might be time to take a look and maybe even I don't know if you could stream it on y'all's podcast, but
Yeah, you
that might be
can.
a lot of fun.
Yeah, it's streamable, so you can do it.
Gotta do it soon.
And the other thing that I've been geeking out about is, and y'all can give your opinion on this maybe as well, is Miss Marvel, the first episode of Miss
Mm.
Marvel on Disney Plus. What did you all think of that first episode so far?
I thought it was good. Very I like how they kind of do the little comic-y things in the background, like, oh, we're gonna talk about a what was it? Captain Strange, and then you kind of see like a Captain Strange in the background
Yeah, the drawings.
materialize. Yeah.
You know, the drawings and the augmented reality kind of stuff that's
Hmm.
going on in her imagination, mostly.
Yeah.
Yeah,
I like how they do
Um,
that also because I think that the way that her powers work in this almost seem a little bit like Green Lantern, right? Instead of the way that they actually work in the
oh, didn't I
comics.
say that? Didn't I
Yeah.
say that?
Yeah.
Yeah,
Right. She's almost like a Marvel version of Green Lantern here, but like the the effectiveness of those cool little montages or whatever you want to call those, AJ, is it shows her imagination, and that'll probably come into play with her powers later on in the show, hopefully. As you know, as she uses them in different areas of the show. What else did y'all think of the show?
I mean, I thought it was pretty good. I like the whole like aesthetic art sort of vibe that they have going on in there, with, like the cartoons and stuff, like you said, AJ. Um, the power is pretty cool. I mean, and it's a pretty funny show in general.
Mhm.
It's not Scott Pilgrim though, so
yeah.
stop comparing it.
That's what I meant.
Stop comparing to
I
it.
didn't say it was Scott Pilgrim. I said it had elements that felt like Scott Pilgrim with
Yeah, but it's
its
not compared.
weird its weird camera shots and the humor that it has and stuff.
Scott
That's
Pilgrim is the goat.
I,
Scott
I
Pilgrim is its own thing.
I heard the same comparison here, though. I'm not gonna lie. Like I was talking to
What?
somebody in Atlanta about it, and they were like, "Oh, I kind of like the vibe. It's a little bit like Scott Pilgrim and all that."
Mm, I don't
Um,
know.
and I got to disclose something that's kind of horrifying. Until the other day, when before I even had this conversation about the show being like Scott Pilgrim, I had not seen any of Scott Pilgrim,
Oh my god.
Uh,
and I saw
I
the
mean, that's
first.
okay. I
evil.
took a while to see that too.
I saw the first part of it, like the first hour of it, the other day, and it is fantastic, and it holds up. I guess
It
for
does.
anybody that has that question.
Yes.
But if anything, I kind of see the comparison, like for all those that are making it, because it's definitely not that, but there's quirks in the humor and the art design and things like that that make it a little
Right.
like that, and the
Yeah,
the
it has
comic book,
elements.
like the words in the air and stuff like that, that they also do
Yeah.
like Into the Spider Verse, also,
Yeah.
in that augmented way, makes it a little bit like that, a little bit like that.
It has elements of it. It's not a complete copy of Scott Pilgrim.
Yeah.
It just has some elements of it. So
But it's definitely a good show. It has a pretty cool sense of humor, and it's pretty good so far. But I don't know who they're gonna fight. Who the villain is gonna be.
That's good.
It's
You know,
good.
Yeah, actually, that's a question that I have myself. I wonder who the villain of the show is going to be, but
right now the
um,
villain of the show is the mom.
Ugh, that's terrible.
So, but you know what? It's funny, and I say that in jest, right? But you know, this show is pretty important. It was important when it first came out in the comic books because this is the first Muslim American that has been shown either on screen or on page
mhm,
as being a superhero. So you know, representation matters. I truly believe that in the you know to my
100%.
core and stuff, right? Um, and so you know, again, we're Hispanic, right? So we don't know that, but one of the things that I did read about it is that it does capture the Muslim American experience pretty well. And again, I can't speak to that
Mhm.
because obviously we're not of that, you know, we're not of that ilk and stuff,
Yeah,
right? But I always appreciate when you have, you know, shows like this that make the case where it's like, you know what, not every superhero has to be this, you know.
yeah.
And
I mean,
I
I'm really
like that
enjoying it.
it's an authentic experience. The same thing with Shang-Chi. Shang-Chi, a lot of people were saying it really captures that experience, that the way it is and stuff. So I do appreciate that Disney and Marvel is leaning toward that. I'm disheartened by the fact that yes, social media sucks, and you know there has been some backlash, but
Mm.
it hasn't been as pronounced as some of the other ones that I've seen. So
Yeah,
maybe that's a good thing.
I
But
mean,
social media is toxic to begin with. So you're always gonna have those elements, you know.
she's doing a great job, Mon Vellani as
She is
Kamala Khan. She's a
fantastic in this
great
show.
young actor on
And
the show.
I don't know if you've seen her in interviews, but that enthusiasm and that excitement that she has that she brings to the camera, that's something that's just a part of her because when you hear her doing interviews, she's exactly that same person, which is so cool.
You can tell because, and that's something that I've been really enjoying and noting a lot lately in the things that I watch. I think I mentioned it the other day to somebody about like The Matrix 4, for instance, that we all know we didn't really like that movie, but Yahya Abdul Mateen as Morpheus, even though he wasn't the best character in the world, I enjoyed him because you could tell he was having a freaking blast playing the
Yes.
role. And
Mm-hmm.
like it's kind of the same with a lot of other things. I think another good example is what's his name? Um, that's in the Guardians of the Galaxy, and what if he was in Amistad? Oh my goodness,
Oh,
Jamon
you're talking
Hansu.
about
Jamon
yes,
Hansu
exactly.
is another like kind of
But
random example, but you can
he's a
tell
fantastic actor
yeah,
though.
and you can tell he's having so much
Yes.
fun when he plays that character, especially like in What If, where he's like more goofy and silly,
Mm-hmm.
right? But that's something that I really have enjoyed her in this role, and I'm not. We're not gonna get super political because we don't do that here. But like, this is me pushing back against the "go woke, go broke" narrative. If you think that that's true, look at Black Panther, look at Crazy Rich Asians, and look at stuff like this that's coming out and getting a positive response. You know, all that is kind of nonsense. Like people love to see themselves represented in media, ourselves
Facts.
included, and you know it's especially if it's great like Shang-Chi was and Black Panther, you know, again good examples are Crazy Rich Asians, you know, it's good business and it's, you know, being a good human to just enjoy these things for what they are, which is just hey, like other people being represented in media and the diversity of our world and our country being represented in all of these shows and things like that. But
Yeah,
outside of that,
it sucks. It really
it's
does.
just a fun show, and it's,
Mhm.
you know, it's got a little bit of that tween vibe that I would normally kind of be a little bit revolted by, but
Yeah.
I think
Same.
that was the thing that Eli was scared of.
yeah,
The whole teen CW type of
Yeah. It's
thing
kind
and
of like
stuff.
no.
but it doesn't embrace that too hard. It just uses it for comedic value, I think. And the characters and the kids, like especially, are doing a fantastic job. Her friend is another standout. Her best friend is another standout in the show. Her brother, another great standout. Some of the young actors on the show are really funny.
Hmm.
So they embrace the tweenness of it when they need to for comedic effect, but they're also very dramatic and very solid. So I'm loving the show for that so far as well. Her
I hope
parents are
we're
also
not
funny.
forgetting. I hope we're not forgetting Dad Hulk.
Yes.
I
Oh,
was
no.
just,
I was
I
thinking
was
that.
just about to say
Stop.
that.
When I was saying her
just about
parents
to
are
say
funny
that.
too.
Merciless podcast. You bring that up.
I was literally about to bring that up also because I had it in my mind when Jose was going down the list. And I was like, you can't forget the dad, man, because the dad is just so freaking awesome.
Yeah, when he leaps into the room and fully in green, just to show off the costume, not even to go to the event. He's like, I'm going to put myself in the full cosplay like a week before we go, just so you can see how goofily awesome I look in this Hulk costume.
He went all out because exactly like you said,
The face
paint and everything, right?
Yeah.
Yeah.
I
Fantastic.
I kind of would love to see him do something silly, heroic later in that Hulk costume, even if it's accidentally, just for a comedic moment where he gets to like Hulk out, or something like that. So
The true Hulk has returned. Yes.
I believe his father is played by Mohan Kapoor, if I'm not mistaken. I'm looking at the cast here, so I'm sorry if I'm messing up those names in any way. I think I'm relatively close. But yeah, he's another great standout. The mother, Zenobia Shroff, even though she's like playing the foil, does it with
plays it well,
emotion, and you actually understand and feel her caring for Kamala and in the show as well. So it doesn't end up being too cheesy. It like strikes a really nice balance, I think, this show.
And it's funny that you mentioned that because that same scene, as funny as it was, fast forward a couple of minutes, and that was super heartbreaking. The conversation that the mom had with Kamala Khan, and so again, like you said, it strikes that balance, right? Because in one scene, you go from the highs of Dad Hulk to that really super hard conversation that the they had with each other to end it. So um, I love the show so far. So I only the only thing that I was disappointed was that we didn't get a second episode because I think we're kind of spoiled now where shows give us a couple of episodes to start just to get the feel of it.
Yep.
So
Disney
but
Marvel.
hey, it is what it is.
Disney Marvel doesn't tend to do that, but like I guess the Star Wars shows, The Boys recently, which is another thing I saw. I have seen a few episodes of. I guess if there's
Yes,
anything else to geek out about, but
That was the other
amazing.
one. How
All
could
right.
we forget? That was the other one.
all right. So I just want to say I want to give a special shout out before we end to Dad Hulk at the end of that scene when you see how heartbroken he is that he's not going to get to go with Kamala. He looks so sad when he's like, "You don't like my Dad Hulk costume." So special shout out to him, and a special shout out again to Mohan Kapoor, Iman Vellani, Zenobia Shroff, and the rest of the cast who are real dang standout and are really making me enjoy this show so far.
Yep.
The Boys, how far have y'all gotten?
We're caught up.
Yeah.
Okay, as am I. And what are you thinking of that so far?
Oh my god.
Crazy.
Oh my god. I gotta say this. I've always been a fan of Anthony Starr.
Yeah.
From his Banshee days.
Mhm.
I think he is absolutely killing it this season as Homelander.
Yeah.
I really do. I think out of all the characters in that show, he has done a phenomenal job. Him and Butcher.
Butcher's
what's
great.
his name? Carl Urban.
Carl Urban.
Yep.
Mhm.
Yeah.
Those two to me are really, really just headed and they're all fantastic actors on that show. But I think right now you're seeing a masterclass between those two right now this season so far.
Yeah, their conflicts, their verbal conflicts, their verbal sparring about blood and bone and all of that. So super spoilers, I guess, as with all things, but that's one of the bigger shows. I guess we have to warn people about spoilers. But like his conversations about having conflicts, since like where we find the characters now is like kind of at a stalemate, right? You have Huey working for kind of the anti-superhero government agency. You have Butcher working for him and not getting to kill people, which he absolutely hates. You have Mother's Milk kind of at home at the start of the season doing his thing with his daughter at the very least, even though he's separated from his wife, we see. He's one of the standouts for me. Also, I love Laz Alonso. I love him
Yeah,
as Mother's Milk.
he's very good. He's very good.
And I mean, like skipping, not to skip around too much, but the scene in the most recent episode with him and Carl Urban, where so they have a conversation about how Carl Urban is like beep beep like an asshole, like grade A asshole, right? Or Butcher is an asshole, and you have Mother's Milk asking about or talking about why he's brought into the group, and Butcher tells him it's because he's like the heart and soul, basically. He's the one that takes care of the boys. So that was a standout scene for me. But comparison to season 2, which I still liked, but was a drop off for me a lot from season 1. I like how they're starting off so far, and it's really like almost on a level with season 1 so far. What are these other thoughts or standouts to the rest of y'all with this season?
I know.
I
where AJ is
forget
going.
what the octopus's name is. That
Oh,
poor octopus.
Oh yes.
Oh, like Timmy.
eat the effing
It
octopus.
was like Timmy.
Yeah.
Yeah,
I forget. I
think it
forget
was
his
Timmy.
name.
Yeah.
Timmy. Justice for Timmy. Yeah.
The Deep is a character that you really.
Oh, I hate him again.
Yes, exactly. There are times you look at the Deep and you want to feel sorry for him, and there are times where it's like, dude, what are you doing, bro? And there's been a lot of those type of moments in this season so far. He's so desperate to be included in the 7 that, and his girlfriend, his wife,
No,
right?
his wife.
um, she is really, really the driving force behind all of the Deep's actions.
Yeah.
Which again, it kind of it's kind of perfect with the character because that character can be so easily manipulated, right?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Although he's had his hand in some brilliant manipulations as well when it comes to Homelander, and it's really cool. To your point, Walt, kind of how everybody is interacting with Anthony Starr, and like how
Mm-hmm.
some certain members of the 7 are really vying for his attention, while other people are trying to basically kill him. The Deep and A Train. Again, A Train also being a good example of like a character that's killing it this season, I think, too, and really picking himself back up.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
What else? I was going to say to your point really quickly, AJ, if you go on the Boys TV, the Boys Twitter at the Boys TV.
Yeah, I know. That's a hashtag. Justice for
Timothy. It's Timothy.
That's why I said that.
Yeah.
Timothy. Okay, yes. My bad.
Timothy.
Justice for Timothy.
We were close enough, but like there's an actual video in memoriam for Timothy.
That was hard to watch.
It was.
It really was.
And he really sold it. How
He's praying now.
I mean, I love how like goofy it was. Well, you still kind of felt that was one of those moments where you feel sorry for him, right? Because he cares about that poor octopus, although in a slightly gross way, as evidenced by some earlier scenes. But yeah, it's really been a fun, interesting season so far, and the relationship that the interaction that Homelander had with Stan Edgar, all that stuff that's going on with him, I think is really cool so far too. Yeah,
Man, the chicken man got outplayed.
Yeah.
Damn.
I'm kind of surprised AJ hasn't spoken about this one character yet, though.
Which character?
Oh, I know.
Oh yeah.
I know now.
Especially with that big reveal at the end of the last episode.
Yeah.
Anybody knows AJ. This particular actor.
This particular Ackles.
Soldier Boy. There we go.
Jensen Ackles.
Yeah, he's been really great as Soldier Boy, I think.
I loved him on Soul Train.
Oh God.
He was great on Soul Train.
God.
It was kind of cool, like not for nothing, even though it's creepy, when he was hitting on oh geez, what's her name? The Mallory in the flashback scenes while he's like punching people and killing people and launching them into the air in his past battle scenes. But I guess this is where like he's supposed to be like the Captain America of the boys, and
apparently as strong as Homelander.
Apparently as strong as Homelander, though, right? Or close to. And we had the Captain America, like the full, besides the shield, the full reveal at the end of this episode. It seems that he's been frozen for a few decades instead of the storyline that where they said that they killed him in the show. So that's another wrinkle, right? Because the boys were looking for a weapon that could kill Homelander because they thought that weapon had killed Soldier Boy in the past, but it turns out that that's not the case.
I wonder if they're leaning toward Soldier Boy being the weapon.
Yeah, I
Yeah,
think
yeah.
that's a
I think that's what
clone of
they're.
Soldier Boy.
Could
Oh, you
be
don't think
also.
he's frozen? You think it's a clone?
Like you know how because they also changed another thing. Black Noir is supposed to be a clone of
Homelander, yeah.
Homelander in the comics.
Hmm.
What if it's this Soldier Boy is a clone of the original Soldier Boy and is made to be like the ultimate soup killer?
That's possible.
Yeah.
It's possible. Maybe they killed the first one because they couldn't control him and they cloned him, like the one that you're talking about. Excuse me. Because they could control a clone more easily somehow, but that's certainly a
Yeah,
possibility. I
a
mean,
la Winter Soldier.
yeah, they definitely changed the Black Noir backstory as we saw in the flashbacks, but
Yeah.
that kind of begs the question of his origin too. I think they're gonna find a way to make that a big reveal, not exactly the same as in the comics, obviously, but it's probably going to be, I think, pretty crucial to the story in the end. Maybe he's the weapon.
How much of the comics do you know? Because I have to beg indifference on the comics. Do you know a lot of the story of the
I
comics?
know a decent amount. I know that Black Noir is a Homelander clone. I know that he actually is the one that ends up doing a lot of the evil stuff that they blame Homelander for, even though Homelander is super evil in the comics also.
Mm-hmm.
I know a decent amount. I know that Soldier Boy is totally different in the comics also in certain ways. He's not supposed to be some Homelander analog. He's also a huge wimp in like he's a dummy here too, so that's not any different. What are the differences that you're gonna make light of, I guess, or like how do you disagree?
The only thing no, I'm not disagreeing with anything and stuff. I just wanted to see how much you knew.
I don't
Because
mind
like I
being
said,
spoiled.
I'm not
I do.
that in that. The only thing
Ooh,
I
okay.
do wonder is why they changed Mother's Milk, because my understanding,
Oh
and
yeah, I know
again,
about
I
this.
could be wrong because
Yeah,
I'm not as you know caught up with. I haven't read any of the comics, but I was under the impression that Mother's Milk had already had Compound V.
yeah, he was partially soup.
Right, exactly, and they kind of changed that by doing that and giving it to both Butcher and Huey.
I'm
So
guessing because they didn't want to use the same literal source of his powers that is his name
probably,
in
yeah,
the comics. I mean, they definitely pushed the envelope with this show in terms of like sex and
yeah.
violence, but that
That
almost,
first
I don't
scene
know.
is
Not that
ridiculous.
it would be strange to me, but it would probably be odd for a lot of people to see that in live action.
Well, listen, we've got Hero Gasm coming up pretty soon, which
Yeah.
a lot has been made of that by the actors themselves. So
That's true.
that's going to be a very, very interesting episode. Talk about pushing the envelope. I can't imagine what that episode is going to be like.
Yeah, I guess so. I mean,
Oh boy.
any final thoughts on this show? Any other standout moments or standout characters or questions before we move on to, I guess, what we all conceive to be our main topic?
I just think right now the boys is really, really killing it this season, and
I agree.
all the actors are really, really, you know, working their what's off
Yeah,
this season. So
I agree. 110%. Season 4. Y'all
Yes.
check it out. It's killing it on Amazon Prime right now, and it's super worth it. And if you haven't caught
Season
up,
3 or season 4? I think
season
it's
3,
3.
excuse me, season 3. I can't wait for season 4. That just got confirmed. Another bit of news also.
Oh.
So although there's a character that's not in the photo where they confirm it, that oh man, I have some thoughts about somebody that's going to die this season, but I don't think I'm going to do that on this podcast. I think I'll wait for that.
Okay. Yes.
Yeah, I'll wait for that.
Yes.
Let's get to, well, actually, before we get to it, I want to make a mention for all of y'all that have gotten this far to thank you for listening to the podcast. And a quick reminder, please check out our social medias on all your favorite social media platforms: Facebooks, Instagrams, Twitters, TikToks. Like, rate, share, and subscribe on all of your favorite podcast platforms, especially Apple Podcasts. That is one of the best ways. Actually, Apple Podcasts is probably the best way to support one of your favorite podcast crews. So please check us out at Get Geek Podcast, hashtag Get Geek Podcast, hashtag all things Get Geek. Yeah, let's move on to it. The main topic of the week is Kenobi. Obi-Wan Kenobi. Kenobi.
He actually recently did that at a con, I think. The actor.
Yeah.
Yeah, he actually went to like I don't know which con it is. Don't even ask me. But I saw a clip where he's like in front of the crowd and they're like, "You want me to do it?" And they're like, "Yeah, we want you to do it." And he's like, "Kenobi."
Oh man, yes. Obi-Wan Kenobi. We're 4 episodes in so far. I think everybody is caught up. Yes. This one is a number 4, the big number 4.
2
And
left.
we have had some positive impressions. In the first couple of episodes, there is some disagreement. I definitely want to rep Wolfie because he has some issues with the show. He's not able to join us today, and I can't wait for him to join the podcast and give us that counter perspective. Although in the last couple of episodes, for me, that's all I'll say right now. What do y'all think of the show so far?
Okay.
Standout moments again, standout characters, all that good stuff.
Okay, so here's the thing.
Yeah.
This is far better than anything we've gotten so far, barring The Mandalorian.
Mm-hmm.
My thing is, I there's one interaction that I really loved the most, however, not as realistic as it was. When Vader came face to face with Obi-Wan once again. And he lit those flames. Oh boy, that was some justice done right. That some dark justice done right there. He should have been a hell of a lot more burned on the face, I must say. But wow, what a scene!
What did you think of
And
of the fact that he got away in that way? Well,
I think Vader let him go
You think so?
because this is something I saw on Twitter also. Sorry for the user. I don't know your name,
Mhm.
but I'm going to say right now this is not coming from me. This is coming from random Twitter user.
Mhm.
I think Vader recognizes that Obi-Wan is at his low, and he doesn't want to kill him at his low. He wants Obi-Wan to build himself up so that he can destroy that. He wants the challenge, the I'm gonna only use one helmet to fight Melania challenge.
Mhm. Well, that whole scene was super chilling, like with what he did to the villagers. With
Yes.
the way that he chased Obi-Wan was very reminiscent of the way that he chased Luke Skywalker in the Return of the Jedi to me, and the Empire Strikes Back, where he was kind of in the shadows and he would turn off his lightsaber, and you have the panicky Luke Skywalker, just like the panicky Obi-Wan here, trying to find him in the darkness with the lightsaber or otherwise, and then all of a sudden the Dark Lord just comes out of nowhere and starts furiously attacking. And I guess the slightly unrealistic part, although maybe this ties into what you were saying, AJ, Obi-Wan held his own a little too much for me, a little too long for me. But like you said, maybe he was toying with him. He didn't want to kill him. He wants to mess with him and scare him and weaken him and tire him out and just screw with him at his low point and then wait for him to feel weak, build himself out back up, and then kill him then. But yeah.
I will say this, and I think I've said this before in some older podcasts. I've always felt that Vader should come back in a horror movie, and that particular episode is kind of what I envisioned when it comes to Vader, and how you could do a Vader property because
He had a Jason quality.
it's just like you said. Exactly. It's just like you said. He was
You're right.
literally the boogeyman right there to Obi-Wan. Obi-Wan, in every corner, he's looking at shadows and wondering, is that Vader here? Is that Vader here?
Mhm.
And stuff like that. So, you know, I looked at that and I enjoyed that for what it was, because that's kind of the thing that I've always said Vader as a property should be going forward. That boogeyman that's going around hunting Jedis, and that horror aspect to it.
I almost
No, oh,
I'm sorry.
go on.
I'll let you go on. I want to mention something real quick, and this is almost something that maybe could be a whole episode of a podcast later on down the road. There's a great video by you on YouTube by this channel called Screen Crush. And I agree with their opinion that actually, of all of the things that Disney has messed up with Star Wars, and we're not haters, we're just things that we don't like. Like, there's some stuff in the Book of Boba Fett that we didn't like. There's some issues with the show that I don't like. Bad Batch wasn't our favorite. The Screen Crush video, and you all can give maybe a quick opinion on this. This could be a whole podcast later on down the road. The Screen Crush video makes the point that Disney has actually done really well with Vader. And I agree. You have awesome moments in Rogue One. You have the comics that are well received.
Yes.
You have Vader Immortal, which is kind of a product of Disney, the way he's represented in that, because that becomes a part of the canon. And then you have this. I think that he's been really well handled by Disney also. Do y'all feel the same or not?
Well,
I feel the same, as long as it I feel like this is gonna tempt them to overuse him, and I don't want that either.
Mhm.
I
Right.
think they're already overusing him.
I was gonna say, Vader has been utilized so far as a secondary character, so to speak,
Mhm.
in all of this stuff. So, it's very easy to kind of do a character right when you're just focusing on, very limited moments. I fear, kind of like the way Eli says, if they decide to actually do a Vader series, because that's where a lot of the shortcomings of Disney's handling of Star Wars really, really shines through, because, you know, Boba Fett was pretty good in The Mandalorian, right? But when they gave him an entire series, not so much. Vader has been really, really good in all these little moments that he's had. I'm almost terrified of what they would do
Well,
with a Vader series, because then that forces them to do 6 or 8 episodes of stuff that may not be as good.
well, if anything, I mentioned it a moment ago, and I can make the counter argument that maybe they'll handle it better because they have the Marvel comics that are super well received, and maybe it could be like a joint Marvel Studios like Star Wars production, and Kevin Feige could run it and
That's
make
true.
it super awesome. AJ, I think you were going to say something before I kind of interrupted with all this, and maybe you have a point
Yes.
about this as well.
Well, the one thing I was gonna say that I have to give another shout out to is the character Riva. My God,
Hmm.
you talk about a tenacious inquisitor.
He plays it well.
Like
Mhm.
I it comes off as annoying at some points, but
Mhm.
I overall I like her zeal.
Oh man,
Like just that was such an immaculate idea, using Lola as a tracker. And it was so subtle too. And it wasn't until the end of the episode I'm like, "Oh wait, oh, that's what she did. That was incredibly smart."
yeah.
She has some moments of incompetence, but then she has her moments where it's like, wow, that was really well thought of.
Yeah, there are some moments for her character and all the characters where it's a little bit too plot driven instead of character driven, and they do things that are a little dumb or silly. Again, it doesn't break it for me too much, and there's plot holes that break it a lot for other people, which we might talk about later in terms of A New Hope and this. But I think AJ, you put it perfectly, because I agree. Like, her zeal, she feels like a real world kind of like a zealot more than any other Sith that I've seen before. Save of like maybe like a Darth Maul
Inquisitor.
or something like that, or like the Inquisitor. But like, there's something really about her zealotry and her sort of almost like she's like a terrorist kind of. She feels like a Sith terrorist, and the first two episodes especially, she's pretty terrifying. Like when she's stalking down Obi-Wan, just like Vader did, again making those kind of original trilogy comparisons, just like Vader did in Empire Strikes Back and Return of the Jedi. All the your fear betrays you, all those callbacks. I think the actor is doing a great job of being really scary in those moments. So I have to give Moses Ingram a lot of credit. When the character is written strong, she freaking brings it. And that's the thing with the show for me. But what else did you have to say, AJ? I'll probably get into that as we like further discuss.
And then just, well, this is kind of obvious, but just like Ewan McGregor, man, like they're he's amazing, you know? And just like, oh my goodness, when we finally found out I guess the secondary purpose of the Tower Inquisitorius or whatever it's called, like, yo, when he went down there and saw all those bodies in amber, that was chilling.
And that's a throwback,
especially when you saw the youngling there too.
That's Easter eggs from a few different properties too, if I'm not mistaken, right? Because there were characters.
Really?
Weren't there the characters from different properties in there? I would have to kind of go back because I'm not 100% sure. I had to research this more so.
I'm pretty sure though.
But
I'm pretty sure you're right.
And I think the youngling was one of the ones that we saw at the beginning of the episode, if I'm not mistaken, right?
Yeah. The beginning of the first episode.
Beginning of the first episode, yes. When they showed all those younglings trying to escape during Order 66.
I mean, in my opinion, well, I'm not going to go over the good stuff. Like, what I found was positive because we already basically went over that.
Mm-hmm.
But, see, like, the show is amazing, don't get me wrong, but I have, like, a bunch of gripes with it.
Okay.
And honestly, even though it's, like, the best Star Wars show, and I would give it, like, maybe, like, a 90 out of 100, 90%. Right? There are just some things that are really just, I feel like that could probably be a problem in this 2 future episodes. First things first. Well, actually, I'm not gonna go over this because if I would talk about overused characters, I'm gonna make some pretty contentious statements, and I know Andre already knows. But I mean, I feel like what's her name, Leia, she's getting a little bit annoying for me, at least.
Okay.
And the whole, the kid trope. Yeah, we have it with the Bad Batch. We have it with the Mandalorian. This is the 3rd time we're having it with Obi-Wan, which I didn't think would happen, but apparently it's happening now. We have another kid, and it's really just getting annoying because, look, I get it, but at the same time, it's
I get what you're saying.
Overused.
Like I get that you want to cater to all audiences,
That's
but
so
like
stupid.
I really do want just a show where it's just the dude taking care of himself.
Yes.
Like, there's nothing wrong with having kid characters or occasionally having a kid character that the main character needs to take care of. But when you do it for every single property you come out with, it grates on you. And I don't mind Leia. Leia in this show is actually pretty awesome.
She's kind of annoying.
She's a cutie patootie.
I don't find her annoying.
But she's completely annoying because, like, throughout all the episodes, she's just screwing everything up. Like,
I mean, she stared down Reva. Come on.
I feel like Obi-Wan's the one who screwed things up, actually. Because he's the one who calling her Leia in front of stormtroopers. He's the one, like, wearing Jedi robes when he's trying to escape Jedi hunters. Like, there's some things that break the experience for me. Leia's not necessarily one of them, except when somebody tries to chase her. That's definitely there's an experience breaking there. Because full-grown adults are having a hard time chasing down a 10-year-old.
Oh, no, there's a branch in front of me. I can't go forward.
They're chasing down a 10-year-old who runs 3 miles an hour at tops.
Yeah, those 2 bounty hunters were probably the worst fit bounty hunters in probably the whole entire galaxy because
Yeah.
the green guy was huffing and puffing the entire way. You know,
Yep.
so
Yeah. Oh, man.
there are things about the show, and I'm in agreement with everybody. The show is probably right now just a smidgen below first season of Mandalorian.
Mhm.
Um, but there are things that kind of stop me from showering with with praise. First of all, I am not a fan of the soundtrack at all.
Mhm.
Horrible.
The soundtrack to me
It's meh.
is probably the
Yeah.
least Star Warsy of all the properties that we've seen so
It's
far.
like
And it's very over the top, and it's very I'm that almost takes me out of the experience just because the soundtrack of Star Wars is something that's so essential to the experience, right?
Mhm. Yep.
And for me, it's just not working. I don't know why they changed the composer from the other shows and stuff, but they have, and it just I'm not getting I'm getting a fake Star Wars vibe from here, like a sci-fi concoction of the show, right?
Yeah.
With the soundtrack.
Like what is his name? Ludwig Göransson has been the standout musical person for the Star Wars shows. I mean, he's a super musician. I saw a whole
Mhm.
documentary about what he does, and he does a lot of popular music, like a huge amount of popular
Yeah,
music
they should
as
they should
well.
have let him on this series as well.
Yeah, I mean,
You know.
he just makes great music, and like it's a great fusion of whatever the show needs thematically and Star
Mhm.
Wars every time. So it is, yeah, that is a little bit weak.
Yeah.
There's something for
The other
me. Go ahead, go ahead. Yeah,
yeah the other two things, and I'll be brief because I have a feeling you're probably going to hit on this also, so
we
we can
might,
have this as a group
we
discussion.
might, yes.
um
Mm.
the Jedi powers is very uneven, especially when it concerns Riva.
Yeah, and the fifth
Because
brother, their power
yeah,
imbalance is not clear.
well, not even that. Just the way that they use their Jedi powers is specifically tailored to what the story needs. And one of the perfect
Oh yeah.
examples is um, the first interaction where we saw her in Tatooine with Owen.
Hmm.
And she clearly has some misgivings about what Owen is exactly. The first thing that I said was, why doesn't she use that whole mind trick where she can pull the theories? And AJ was like, maybe she doesn't know how to do it. And guess what? The very next episode, she does it.
And the thing that's annoying too
You
is that
know?
they try to explain it in some way later, right? Because when she tries to do it to Leia, it's like, oh, Leia has some force ability that allows her, which is a bit much. Okay, that this little kid has the ability to block a trained Sith, kind of, to block their
Mm-hmm.
mind powers, the ability to read minds. But they try to explain it, and then they didn't do it when she cuts off that poor woman's hand, and like you said, when she has that interaction with Owen, Lars, Joel Edgerton,
Yep.
trying to find out where Obi-Wan is, and it
And
doesn't even make it clear like they do, because I think somebody
it's
mentioned
random.
it was really easy how Obi-Wan gets away at the end of the last episode, but at least they again explain it that was part of her plan, right?
Right.
For them to lead them to other people that they can kill.
Yep.
So yeah.
The last issue that I have is an issue that was prevalent, especially toward the end of Game of Thrones.
Hmm.
Um, location of characters,
Well, like,
and how quickly they get to places
yeah.
without any effort. And so we saw it in the kind of the chase scene on the rooftops, but it was super apparent. I think it was that last episode.
The
Was
one
it?
before 4.
Okay, that one where the escape in the tunnel.
Yo.
She
Mm.
was at one end of the tunnel, and 5 minutes later, by the time Leia reached, she was just waiting for her
Mhm.
and killed everybody in the process.
Yes.
And so Obi-Wan specifically has a really, really tough time with time and location and placing of characters. And that's something that, again, we're going to go back to Game of Thrones, because Game of Thrones had that issue, especially in that last season where, they were going from the dragon back to the wall, right?
Yeah.
And they were bringing
And Gendry
it's
like
having
sprinted in like
exactly
10 minutes he
it,
got there.
they're having a big they're having a tough time trying to figure that out within the timeline, and it's not even subtle, it's like totally in your
Yeah,
face.
yeah. I just want to point out that something that's been pointed out about Gendry before. The dude had never even seen snow in his life because he was from the South and he was able to sprint through it with no problems. But we're not talking about Game of Thrones here. We're talking about Kenobi. We're talking about Obi-Wan Kenobi. The thing that's messing it up a little bit for me is the thing that I also love about it, and I'll explain, is that for the first couple of episodes, I was having a blast with how the show didn't really have like a specific theme. And what I mean by that, or genre, what I mean by that is like it's not clearly a comedy, it's not clearly a drama. It just allows allowed the characters more so in the first couple of episodes to just be like kind of real characters. And I'll give you a perfect example. Flea as like one of the bounty hunters, as Vect Nakru. Like it's kind of cool that there's somebody that's as weird and eccentric as him as a bounty hunter in Star Wars. Kumail Nanjiani as Haja was another good example for me. Like the show doesn't have to
Yes.
be comedic. It doesn't have to be a comedic show like as the genre. But in a
Mhm.
real world, in a real situation, you would have somebody like a Kumail Nanjiani who's just like the funny person. You know what I mean? He just deals with everything through comedy, and Ewan McGregor can be as stoic as he wants as Obi-Wan Kenobi in his interactions with him, but also have that little smart ass edge that we love about Ewan McGregor and Obi-Wan Kenobi and Alec Guinness's character. So their interactions were great, but it's kind of breaking up against something. It's hitting up against the wall in a way because even though I love characters like the fifth brother, Sun Kang playing him is cool. I think his menace and even his voice, some people might not like it. I think it's cool. It's weird.
I
It's
like his
fun.
Yeah,
voice.
he's good.
But like it's breaking up against like somebody like Moses Ingram had how she plays Riva. She's just a real person, right? And I like that. But they're clashing up against each other a little bit. It's starting to rip a little bit at the seams for me. And the other part that I already mentioned is like these real characters making stupid decisions in order to drive the plot forward, which is always a failing of any show and has been a failing on this show as well. Like you said, well, perfect example. Why didn't Reva use her mind powers early on? And there's other examples of that for sure.
Yeah. I'm gonna say one thing about Riva and the fifth brother. I think that was done very clearly and with purpose, because if you look at the fifth brother, if you look at the ninth sister, if you look at the Grand Inquisitor, even, which is played by the guy from Homeland, I can't remember his name off the top of my head.
Friend. Rupert
Rupert
Friend.
Friend, great actor, right?
Mhm.
And but I like his kind of arrogant menace, right? And that's kind of the through line between all of these inquisitors, except for Riva. And I think that was done on purpose
Yeah.
because, you know, she is the outcast of the group. I mean, you hear it in the interactions with the other inquisitors, and I think that's the reason why you have her in that in the way that she's playing that character, because she is the outcast, she is the throwaway, she
Yeah.
is the one that was only brought into the group not because of her personality but because of her skill, right?
Yeah.
And so I think that was done purposefully. I'm gonna make one more mention,
Hmm.
and I mentioned this to AJ before, which is weird to me but in a positive way. James Earl Jones in this
Hmm.
is 10 times better than he was in Rogue One. And I don't know
I
why.
know why. I can tell you why. You're talking about
Oh,
his voice,
why?
right?
Please.
Yeah,
Yeah,
the
because
voice.
there
It's
is
digital.
in Rogue One, he did not sound like
It's
Vader.
digital. They're using the
Is
same
that what it is?
technology that they used for Mark Hamill in the Book of Boba
That
Fett
makes sense.
to make him sound like young
Oh.
Luke Skywalker, to give James Earl Jones's voice the youth and power that he had before, more so before. So it's him, 100%, but they're
Right.
using digital audio technology to beef up his voice and make him sound more like the booming Vader that we
So
all
they
know from the 70s and
so they
80s. Mhm.
they auto-tuned James
They
Earl
did.
Jones.
They auto-tuned James Earl Jones.
But you know what? I that makes a lot of
I'm
sense.
not mad at
It's
it.
And
masterfully done.
I
It's
actually wish that they
masterfully
would
done.
go back and do that for Rogue One. If there's one thing that you're going to do in terms of changing stuff, make that change, because I remember watching Rogue One, and that was so awesome to see him there, but the voice just didn't work for me. I would look. It looked like we were dealing with fake Vader, or maybe something was wrong with his voice modulator that was built into his chest plate or whatever. If you're gonna make a change, then go back to Rogue One and make that change so that it's consistent along everything else. Lucas was never afraid to do that. Disney, please take that one
Yeah.
piece that Lucas is
Oh God.
and fix Rogue Vader and Rogue
Go
One.
back.
all those
Because he
changes
sounds
Lucas made.
incredible in this series.
Especially
he really does.
with how great he is as a character, and with that hallway scene in Rogue One that I went back and watched again the other day, just because Vader's dope.
The question is, are we gonna see Hayden Christensen as Anakin?
I think so.
Or are we gonna, because
We already did.
No, I know, but
Is he going to
but
speak? Yes, I think he will.
like we haven't seen, like, we've seen just brief snippets of him, and the whole thing was that Hayden Christensen in the back. At this point, Hayden not really essential to the story so far.
Yeah.
It's literally just 2 seconds of him in scarred tissue, and that's it.
I think we're going to see him,
Mm.
but I think somebody that I was speaking to again that made the point about Miss Marvel being a little bit like Scott Pilgrim, and he's right. A lot of it was just bringing back Hayden Christensen for hype, for like marketing. It's just like, hey, he's back. Like, he doesn't have to do much in order for people to be like, yeah, like, because of how he's been reformed in the eyes of fans and how much people freaking love his character now, even though he was whiny in the prequels. Now they love how he's been reformed by the cartoons, kind of, right?
Mhm.
And we know Hayden Christensen is an actor who can do that. For better or for worse, George Lucas did not direct the actors in the sequel trilogy or the prequel trilogy especially very well, including Oscar winners like Natalie Portman. So it's not the actor's fault in a lot of cases. And you all know how like they have the body doubles set up as well on the show, right? And who does what scenes.
It's just it feels tragic to me that you're bringing in Hayden, who, like you said, has been reformed over these years for his portrayal of Anakin, and you're not going to use him. It's just
I have
a
a feeling.
marketing
I have a
ploy,
feeling we'll see
and
him in
that doesn't
5.
sit well with me.
I agree too. I agree.
He's gonna be like one of those. He's gonna be the last hurdle Obi-Wan faces before he, okay, I'm ready to fight Vader. Like, it's probably gonna be one of those like guided Force journeys or something like that.
No, please no. Just stop.
It could be a flashback. It could be something else.
Yeah, we have 2 more episodes before they wrap this thing up, which
And
is
we
crazy to me.
get the rematch of the century.
No, please. No.
Quote
I will say
unquote.
this, and this is something that is kind of, the through line for the Marvel and the Star Wars properties. 6 episodes, while tragic for us, seems to be the perfect point in telling these stories, because you know what, you're not getting those filler episodes which drove us nuts for Mandalorian, and it's a very, very tight storyline that they're weaving in within these 6 episodes. So I think Disney has really, hit that perfect point in terms of storytelling with this excuse me, with this 6 episode format that they're going through.
Yes, I think that they've been smart in keeping it a shorter, tighter experience. 100% for show,
Yep.
for show. Any thoughts, theories, things that y'all are thinking about in terms of what's going to happen in the next few episodes? I have 2. One is for the last thing we just mentioned. I think we're going to see Anakin in either a flashback or he's going to remove the helmet at some point in order to confront Obi-Wan. That's when you're going to see Hayden Christensen.
I kind of have a problem with that.
Well, they did it in Rebels, right? Sort of, when
No,
when
that
Ahsoka was fighting
that
Vader.
was just a cut in the mask.
I know,
but
we may see something like that. I think maybe not the full helmet, but
because
definitely a breakaway.
literally the entire armor, helmet included, is his life support.
Sure. But Obi-Wan's got to
Like-
defeat him somehow, right?
I mean, yes, but
And
like
he's not going to kill him.
Taking off his helmet.
That is an interesting theory. Yeah,
I mean,
that's
He's gonna
one way
Master
to
Chief
stop
him.
Vader in his
He's going to
tracks.
John 117 him. He's going to take off his helmet
God.
and take away his powers.
I mean, that's one way to beat him, but like as far as Vader doing that himself, it's very ill advised.
Okay.
I don't think
So maybe not that. Maybe not that. But there's some I think in some way we're gonna see him outside the helmet. Also because one of the actors that plays Vader in the suit, who does the not the stunt work, but the acting, the emoting in the suit, said that he plays Vader when you see him from head to toe, and he made a specific point of saying with the helmet on. With the helmet on. I just want to say that. The other theory that I have, if y'all don't have any more opinions about this one, is that I think that O'Shea Jackson Jr. If Riva is not necessarily the youngling or was kidnapped as the youngling that we see in the first episode, because they're trying to make that obvious connection, right? The first youngling we see could be Riva in episode 1. I think maybe the wife that O'Shea Jackson Jr. is talking about um, might be Riva. I don't remember what his character's name was on this show. I'm sorry.
Oh,
Remember, he says his wife had the power of the Force, and they took her anyway. She had force. She was Force sensitive. That's a theory that's out there that I think might have some legs. What about y'all?
huh.
Maybe.
Yeah, I'm fearing that they've been dropping, and maybe this is me reading into it too much, and this is a wild hot take, but it does kind of feel that they're trying to push Riva towards redemption here,
Yeah.
and I don't know
No,
why.
please.
And
I don't
I
think so.
really, 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 really hope that they don't do it.
Towards
I don't think
redemption.
they're
Wait, where are
doing
you
it.
getting that from?
Yeah.
Especially in her interactions with Leia.
That's because she's a
No.
kid, and she was fully willing to torture her in the
Yeah.
next sequence.
She's not.
I know, but I just there's little things that happen within the show that
No.
I just I don't know. I can't fully explain it, and that's why I said it's weird and it's probably a crazy take, but you know, Disney loves redemption stories.
I think you're right, because I think part of the point that they're trying to make is in a similar way to how the Jedi were wrong. That's why they have younglings in the first episode, in the first scene. The Jedi were wrong for
Yeah.
taking them away from their families and the emotional damage that caused. I think that a part of that is being reflected a little bit in moments, like Walt said, in little things that she says in Riva as well. But I also hope, like you do, I don't want to see her redeemed.
No,
I
not
would
at all.
actually like to see her in the future. Maybe not like a lot, but like I don't want to see her like die here or become a good guy here. I would rather see her fleshed out in future projects, possibly or Ahsoka or like some other property where she could fit into the
Listen,
timeline.
there is talk of a season 2 for the
Or
series.
that, or that. I mean, it's always a
I
little up in the air for that, especially with a
Right.
property and an actor like Ewan McGregor. But I would, yeah, that would be okay with me.
I don't
Oh,
know how I feel about that.
Hmm.
it really
I
depends,
really
right?
don't. I see. I was coming in here with the assumption that this would be it. I don't. I don't think. Look, I love Ewan McGregor's Obi-Wan. Believe me when I say that. I really do. But to having him more and more in the series is like, I don't know. Like, I get that Obi-Wan is a character, he has agency in some points, but like it's always been the thing that he's stuck on Tatooine. If you have him going out and doing all these things that could potentially jeopardize Luke's safety and where he is, again, you're messing with the whole flow of the original trilogy. And I don't vibe with that.
Honestly, it's not even just that. For me, it feels like they already mentioned it. It's the end of the Skywalker saga, and I know that's a very like very loose and very vague um statement, but to be honest, it gives me the impression that we're done with all of that. And we're going back to Luke Skywalker as it is right now. I mean, you have Obi-Wan guarding him and whatever. So it's really just it's in a really annoying position because I don't want to be seeing any more of this. As much as I love the original sort of stuff, it was supposed to be the end of this. I wanted to move on and start telling new stories and different stories, not going back to the same crap where we have Vader. We're gonna have historic Star Wars. Star Wars fans love this sort of like rematches and stuff because it's really just fan service that I don't like at all. I don't know.
You know,
I didn't explain myself well there,
I think that
but
when we talk about this in the finale, I think we can wrap this up now. But when we talk about the finale, I guess when we watch it and when we get to it, the question that I wanted to get to today that y'all kind of just touched upon that we need to ask is, how is it fitting in with the original trilogy and the canon? Because there's a lot of people that are complaining about Leia and her relationship with Obi-Wan. We didn't get to that.
Yeah.
We don't have enough time to get to that
There's
today,
that.
but we got to get to that in the future. But I think that it's actually kind of us to wait until the series is over because I want to see how they wrap up the first season. And it'll also answer the question for me. I feel like I could get one more season and that's it. But it really depends on how they wrap up this season. So I want to have those two conversations 100% for sure when we're wrapped up with this first season and we get to discuss the finale on the podcast.
yeah.
I mean, like maybe Obi-Wan learns Force Forget in the process of the show. Like,
Yeah, that's what I was possibly thinking.
Mind Dwight. Mind Dwight.
Men in Black power. Yeah, I was thinking about that. I don't know if I would like that. So that's why
I don't know how I'd like that either.
That's why
Yeah,
I'm waiting.
that also seems incredibly vicious for Obi-Wan to do to Leia.
But he would do that
Yeah.
for Luke.
He might do it to protect her.
He's already
you know.
Yeah, that's
he's
true.
already shown that he's willing to cast away even Jedi to their deaths for Luke.
Yeah, but those things slowly break Obi-Wan. You know, I don't know if he would be mentally in that space because I mean Obi-Wan, when we saw him, he was at the very beginning, he was probably as low in as low a point that you can be, you know, and he's slowly bringing himself out of that.
Well, that was probably when
But
Vader
he's
almost
still
burned him
not
to
e-
death. That was
Yeah, he's
ultimate.
still not
bro.
at that place. He is not prequel Obi-Wan. He's not even 10% there yet.
Although he whooped some butt at the end of the last episode, but we'll leave it at that.
I love the and this is the last point I'm going to make. I love the callback to Attack of the Clones when he was fighting General Grievous and he had that hallway scene where he punched the guy and he was like,
Yeah, yeah.
That's not
he's
Attack of the
clearly-
Clones.
No, it wasn't.
It's
Which
Revenge
one?
of the Sith.
Revenge of
General
the Sith.
Grievous is only in Revenge of the Sith.
There you go. So clearly he is not an MMA fighter. Let's put it that
No,
way.
he has soft Jedi hands. Another point
There
made
you
by
go.
one of my favorite channels, YouTube Screen Crush. Anyways, we're gonna have a lot more to speak about on this show for sure, 100%.
Yeah.
When we finish up, the consensus is pretty good, I guess, so far
Yes.
with
Good.
holes. And we're waiting as we try to.
It's Swiss cheese. It tastes good, but there are so many holes.
Yeah, sometimes you want a little more substance out of that cheese. You want a little bit more cheese out of the cheese. But we'll see if we get that cheese by the end of the season. And I'm going to give you all the cheese now. We're going to end this episode. And I want to remind y'all to like, rate, share, and subscribe to all of our social media platforms, the YouTubes, the Facebooks, the Instagrams, and the TikToks, the Preciouses of the world. Please check us out at Get Geek Podcast, hashtag Get Geek Podcast, do it. And in many places as you possibly can. And please, on all your favorite podcast platforms, like, rate, share, subscribe, and rate us on Apple Podcasts. That is the best way to support one of your favorite podcast crews. So everyone, as usual, I don't think there's anything left to say except for until next time, everyone, please stay geeky, my friends.